Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to do a weekly recap video. This time we are doing SmackDown, which took place on November 7th, 2025, in Greenville, South Carolina. We kick off the show with yet another Saturday night main event recap, more specifically the Drew and Cody main event. And I guess to just kind of reiterate what took place there. But from here, Cody joins us in the middle of the ring. He tells us that Drew is his own biggest enemy and that he's in the rearview mirror. Uh, maybe a bit of foreshadowing there. He then goes on to say that he's going to set in the crowd and figure out who the next challenger should be. Obviously, the local crowd there very much liking this idea. But before doing so, Aleister Black, accompanied by Zelina Vega, come out and get in the face of Cody, and Zelina slaps our WWE champion after telling him that the nightmare is just starting. Nick Aldis then comes out and tells us that if it's a fight you want, this will be the main event. I like this. This was something different, something new, something fresh. Um, you know, Obviously, it doesn't stay that way, but for now, it appeared that we were getting something a little bit different. And I think Aleister Black has always been vastly underrated, and absolutely can carry his own in that main title scene. So, with that, moving on to the first match of the night, and this is continuing Ilya Dragunov's U.S. Open Challenge. This time is answered by Champa once again, but Champa also has Candice and Johnny Gargano of DIY at his side. Ilya swerves Champa and instead takes on Gargano. And yeah, this one had some Candice interference, of course, and as Champa goes to the back. But yeah, this was a good match. Definitely wouldn't put this as my top U.S. challenge so far. And obviously, both men are obviously capable of much greater matches. But yeah, it just wasn't as good. And I assume we're saving that kind of like we saw with Drew and Cody at Saturday Night Main Event. Similarly, I think this is they're probably playing it down because I think Ciampa is eventually going to get that, and by definition, compare these two. I imagine they'll put a little more effort in that match instead. We then get Jade Cargill's first promo since winning that women's championship, and she comes out and basically says to everyone in the back, I'm here to stay, and to quote, "I'm that bitch." So simple, effective. I think probably the best kind of style to go with her. Shorter matches, shorter promos. I think is the way to go with her for now, and so I thought this was effective. For what it was. And on the way out, of course, we get that stare down between Charlotte and Jade. Jade, obviously, showing that she's not, intimidated by Charlotte, but Charlotte looking like she has some desire for that belt once again. You can only keep the queen away from the main title scene for so long, but yeah, definitely showing some signs there, maybe planting some seeds, if you will. But then getting to the actual match, we have Charlotte going up against Nia Jax. And this was a decent back and forth. Lots of ad breaks and black screens. I think to a wardrobe malfunction, we have to thank for that. The ending, though, was quite interesting. A potential alliance of Nia and Lash Legend. If that's legitimate, I think WWE just built another credible tag team. They've kind of been working on this division looking pretty good lately because good luck taking those two women out if they're both on the same page. Nia does get the win after Lash ends up kind of choking out Alexa, and this, of course, causing enough distraction for Nia to hit that annihilator on Charlotte to get the win. And then another segment backstage later, we do see the Kabuki Warriors back in the medical, pulling their best Austin impression from the Vince McMahon Austin days. She pulls down her mask and gives a poison mist to Charlotte for her troubles as Alexa's being tended to. So, KP, lots of new things, I guess we could say, lots of different angles, lots of new scenes here. What'd you make of the first half of SmackDown? You think Aleister Black is worthy of that main event scene? Ilya's U.S. challenge. How'd you rate that one? Jade's simple yet effective promo, and then of course Lash Legend potentially making her main roster debut, or kind of. I know she's been on there before, but maybe this is the start of her official reign on SmackDown, teaming with Nia. That would be an effective team, I believe.
yeah, just try and go through all of those particular points that you've raised there, starting with Alistair Black and Cody Rhodes. I think it was a nice little difference. We do get a lot of the same things regularly on SmackDown, so to have the sort of different approach to the opening, I didn't mind that at all. I quite liked it. I thought there was a nice little change of direction here. And to answer your question, yeah, I do think Alistair Black is capable of holding his own in the main event scene. So it was nice to sort of like see him being put in this little spot here, obviously foreshadowing for the match coming up later on in the show. And he didn't seem to be sort of like out of place in that ring. Seemed to be pretty much just holding his own there. I know obviously it's just face to face, a little bit of a promo back and forth, but you know, just for what it was worth, I thought Alistair didn't look out of place in that particular scene. So that's something for sure. Definitely take that from there. And Zelina Vega bringing that little bit of fiery energy, slapping Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm happy to have a little bit of a different thing going on for once. So that's quite nice. Sounded like we're singing off different hymn sheets for the United States Challenge match. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really good contest between both men. Thought it was an opportunity for me to see what I love most about Johnny Gargano, and ever since he's come up to the main roster, we've seen a lot of him, being in DIY and like putting in some decent tag team work in that sense. But in terms of a singles competitor, which I think Johnny is best known for and is best at, if I'm being honest, I thought we saw a little bit of that. I don't think we saw the whole thing, but we saw a nice little taste and sort of like almost like a rebirth style situation. And it was nice to sort of get that a little bit more from Gargano because we know it's down there, we know it's deep in there. It's just we haven't seen it in a long time. So I think this match with Ilya just did bring a little bit of that NXT out of Gargano, which is quite nice. The heart and soul, I think, was referred to as on commentary, which is what obviously he went by in NXT. And I thought this match just really delivered for me. So you could argue, the bigger picture is Gargano not really being the center of attention here, and it is more Tommaso Ciampa because obviously with the teasers in the last couple of weeks. So that makes sense, and I can understand that. But I thought this was a good match for what it was. I did really enjoy it. Obviously, right decision with Ilya Dragunov winning and defeating Gargano. But just generally, I thought it was nice to see Johnny being Johnny again, being Johnny wrestling. So it's what he's known for, and I love that about him. So I'm glad to see a little bit more of it. When we went into our next segment, the Jade Cargill promo, I was not expecting simple but effective. It was extremely simple. As you said, you've literally summed it up, quote unquote, word for word, so I don't need to repeat that. But it was a statement made, I guess you could say, from Jade Cargill, nice and quick, effective, to the point. So I got no complaints with that. It does fit what she's doing at the moment, so I think it's pretty decent. And as for the little stare down with Charlotte, it's quite interesting. Obviously, Charlotte being one half the women's tag team champions right now with Alexa Bliss. So, not sure if they're teasing something going forward, maybe. But I mean, I'm all for it if they do go along that route at some point. So, I guess sign me up. I'm quite keen for it, but I don't know when they're going to do that because obviously with the tag team division, we've obviously got things to talk about. And that transitions nicely into that match with Nia Jax. I wasn't massively a fan of the contest, not gonna lie. So didn't really enjoy it. Thought it was quite sloppy. Like you mentioned as well, obviously with the camera fades out to black. Wardrobe malfunctions for Charlotte Flair, I believe, is the case in that one. And she was definitely having a struggle with her gear, that's for sure. But the very cool part of it is Last Legend coming on out and assisting Nia Jax. I did mention, I think, last week that I felt like this was leading towards somebody teaming with Nia, but I just couldn't put a name on it. And that seems to be the way they've gone here. So quite interesting. The last thing we saw of Last Legend with Nia Jax, they were actually feuding against each other, and they were having a very heated back and forth on NXT. So I guess now it's letting bygones be bygones. Can't beat them, join them. Just a case of two badasses teaming up together and becoming what could be, like you said, a credible team. So they could be quite the dominant force given the opportunity to do so. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that sort of transitions out, plays out. But a kind of decent episode of first half of SmackDown here. Trying little new things and revisiting the old wrestling style of Gargano. So I'm not too critical on this first half. So not too bad at all. But there are definitely some ups and downs for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to further the Johnny Ilya match, I think like you said, it wasn't a bad match by any means. I think just comparatively speaking, we've had really good contests for those U.S. Open Challenge, and so for me in particular, just felt like it wasn't quite at the level, especially as you mentioned of what we've seen from them in NXT, especially from Johnny Gargano. I think is just to, not we knowing that it's not the full capability of both. But I do agree with you in that both Johnny and Champa are both better as singles competitors. Um, and then yeah, the Charlotte Jade bit too. Just wanted to add a little bit more to that, saying that yeah, I think everyone wants now that Jade is the heel. Everyone wants to have Bianca come back, but I think the much more realistic possibility probably Charlotte as a face will be interesting. But yeah, we'll see where they take that from there. Getting into the second half of SmackDown, we first have an announcement from Nick Aldis about the Last Time Is Now tournament. The right after we get a pretty fiery promo from The Miz earlier in the night, he is announced as one of the competitors going up against main event Jey Uso. And then the second match, which is a really strange the way they did this presentation, but hopefully it'll have a nice payoff next week, is LA Knight versus and the Nick Aldis opens up the ball and the paper and whatnot, and he looks at it and he says, "You know what? We'll hold this off. We'll make this one a surprise," which is interesting. Why would you show that? Anyways, so we'll see who LA Knight faces. If it is someone exciting though to kind of team them up or have them go up against LA Knight, and if LA Knight is to lose once again, that could be problematic. So we'll see. We'll see where they take that. But getting into the next match, we have Chelsea Green going up against Julia, who is defending her women's U.S. Championship. And this one lasted, I believe, about a minute and a half. And Chelsea gets a pin with her foot on the ropes. And just like that, we have a new U.S. Women's Champion. So, was shocking to say the least, I think. Lots of, people online saying that this was a burial. Again, I wish we could learn the definition of the word burial. This is a Chelsea Green style win. She got a pen, a dirty pen, and now she basically between her and Ethan Page control the entirety of North America. And they mentioned something about that at the beginning, kind of mentioning Mexico and Canada, and so I kind of felt like that might have been a bit of an egg there, but I love the kind of storyline potentially that we could have with them covering the entirety of North America. But yeah, Julia's reign obviously not much to write home about. Not really anything of her fault, but just didn't really have much going for it. Chelsea Green, everyone loved her as U.S. champion, so we'll see if we can pick that up right where we left off. But yeah, getting into the next match, we have basically Ray Phoenix and Tala Tonga going off of last week. Ray Phoenix said basically showing that he's not afraid of anyone. Before the match starts, though, however, we have Shinsuke and Motor City Machine Guns come out to kind of help even the odds. Although that really didn't help, even though Solo Sikoa was at ringside, he didn't do anything to actually help. Tala Tonga dominates most of this match here, and like I said, Solo did absolutely nothing to help. After the match, Solo comes back to the ring to try to inflict some more pain along with Tala on Ray Phoenix. But Sami Zayn, despite Nick Aldis's warnings, does come down to aid Ray Phoenix. And yeah, we'll see if there's any repercussions there. We then get into the main event, which has Aleister Black going up against Cody Rhodes. And this was a decent match for, as long as it was. Like I said at the beginning, happy to have something a little bit different, but the match does end up getting called early as Drew McIntyre ends up coming in, grabbing the ref, and then Damian Priest comes down as well. So I thought we were done with those rivalries, but it appears we are not quite done. After the match, Drew basically gets suspended by Aldis. So yeah, it was something different, but in the end, maybe not so much because kind of going back to what we were working on anyway. So I guess in terms of how it all unfolded, it was something different. We got a potential glimpse of seeing Aleister in that main event scene. But KP, second half of SmackDown, lots of noteworthy things, especially I think the most noteworthy being that U.S. title scene on the women's side. Curious to get your thoughts on that. Tala Tonga, just kind of continuing the dominance of MFT, really. It's kind of what I take from that, even with all the aid that Ray potentially got, before and after the match. Yeah, curious to see what your thoughts are there. And then, of course, that main event and kind of going back to kind of what we were working on, even though Cody said that Drew was in his rearview mirror. Obviously, that does not appear to be the case.
Yeah, let's go for the United States Championship picture first and foremost. Chelsea Green and Julia. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a little bit of negativity online about this, but me personally, I don't mind it as such. Julia cut a very interesting vignette promo style thing a number of weeks ago, saying how she didn't. It was something along the lines of she didn't see the US title as a very prestigious thing. She saw it as more of a stepping stone. And for a talent to actually physically be accepted to say that on WWE television about a title they're holding at the time being does indicate to me that they don't massively care about it and they are happy to get rid of it as soon as they can and to look to go on to bigger and better things. So if this does mean that Julia's going to be going into the main event picture, I don't particularly mind that. I'm okay with that. So I haven't got an issue with that as such. But Chelsea Green, I look back on the US title since she lost it, and she had what Zelina Vega have a little run with it, and then it went to Julia. And honestly, neither of those two ladies put in anything close to what Chelsea had in her first run. So if we're going to get something similar to what we did have in the first run with Chelsea Green, then hey, sign me right back up with it. I'm more than happy to go around 2 here. And yeah, I'm very much keen for the second run of Chelsea Green, the second term. So yeah, 100% happy with how things have gone here. Like you said, she won it in typical Chelsea Green style. She didn't bury Julia. That's not the correct terminology to use in this instance. So yeah, I think no harm was done here, and it might just be best for both women to go in this direction. So yeah, Chelsea and Ethan have been killing it recently. They've now got both North American championships within WWE. So yeah, honestly, no, I haven't got a problem with that. So yeah, I'm happy with this one, and to see Alba Fire, cancelling out Kiana James as well, just naturally transitioned into happening. So it wasn't like Julia lost because of what she was doing herself. Just got a little bit distracted from what's going on outside. Chelsea took advantage. Fine by me. With Talatonga and Ray Phoenix, didn't do too much for me this matchup. Generally speaking, it was okay. It was fine. It was a decent one-on-one matchup, I suppose. I felt like it was very obvious from the start how this one was going to go. It pretty much went exactly how I thought it would. Talatonga getting the win was no real surprise. But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those matches that it was just kind of there, and that's, I guess, what I can say about it. I felt like I was spending more time worrying about like who was going to be interfering and things like that, and then in the end, no one actually interfered in the finish. So it was just Talatonga beating Ray Phoenix by just pure power and size, which is okay. I'm fine with that. And then obviously, yeah, with the things happening afterwards, and with Sami Zayn coming on in, I'm more than happy to see him back in the action. Is this leading to War Games? I really can't tell, because I thought the Wyatts were involved. So at the moment, I'm very confused about the dynamic here between what's going on at the moment. You've got, Shinsuke Nakamura, Motor City Machine Guns, Ray Phoenix, Sami Zayn, and obviously got the MFTs, but they've also got beef with the Wyatt Six. So I don't really know what's going on right now. I can't put my finger on it. So I guess it's just a matter of just waiting and really seeing, getting a bit closer to Survivor Series and see what's going to happen then. But yeah, it's got me thinking. So I guess that's something. The main event as well, yeah, I was enjoying the matchup. I thought Cody and Alistair were having a pretty good one-on-one. It was nice to see it a little back and forth. And yeah, then I think I expected Damian Priest to come on down first. So I guess I was maybe surprised a little bit. Drew McIntyre Claymore and the referee was absolutely brilliant, by the way. The way he did it out of absolutely nowhere, the referee gets absolutely floored by it. I thought it was just beautiful to watch. It was just a really well done bit. So yeah, him just taking out the referee was great. A little bit of pettiness, but it just worked into the character. And then yeah, we get Damian Priest coming on down to obviously continuing his feud with Aleister Black, but also coming to some sort of degree of cancelling out Drew McIntyre. And the suspension afterwards was quite interesting, because I was thinking that if you have Drew come back to take on Rhodes once again, you're going to have to build it towards Survivor Series, because that's going to obviously be the next big event. And it's such an awkward position now, because if they have Drew coming on in and taking loss after loss after loss, there's only so long it can go on. I feel like we are one loss away from Drew McIntyre basically being irrelevant in the main event picture. And I feel like some people could argue that he already is, because of the losses that he took to Cody and to, God knows how many title opportunities recently in the past few years. So I feel like we're already around that sort of precipice. Some people might argue that we definitely have hit that ceiling. But I'm remaining hopeful. I'm remaining hopeful. They are doing something kind of decent with Drew. I like the pettiness, the aggression, the refusing to sort of back down when everyone seems to be against him mentality. and it seems to be working out pretty well. Does this mean that Aleister Black is in the main event picture? I don't think it does. I think it was just an opportunity for them to do something a little bit different to disguise the fact that Drew's still involved in this. And we do get Damian Priest coming on down and focusing more of his attack on Aleister Black as well. So I feel like that's not done yet either. So that opens up Cody to be, going up against Drew once again. So I think the next few weeks will be quite interesting. I don't know how they're going to do it. Obviously, with Drew suspended, you would imagine he wouldn't be on SmackDown next week. But then, what do you do with it? So I'm a little bit confused. I think it's best to just wait until next week, see what goes down. But again, like the previous segment, it's got me thinking. It's got me wanting to sort of imagine where this is going, and I guess that's a good thing. So I'll take that for what it is. But in terms of the SmackDown, it was kind of good and kind of bad at the same time. There were definitely some highs, there were definitely some lows. And I appreciate they're trying to do some different things. So I guess that's good in a way. Whether the different things are working or not, I guess it's too early to tell. We'll see. But I feel like they sort of set themselves up to do something different, and then they're sort of reverting back again in like the same instance. So that's quite interesting. I gave this one a 6 out of 10. I didn't really get too much from it besides Chelsea Green picking up the US title and a couple of questions about what's happening going forward. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a great SmackDown, to be fair. It was fine. It was all right, but it didn't do anything too much for me. Just little moments here and there, basically. Nick, what did you make of this one? It's a difficult one to really put into words, I feel, but yeah, what's your main take?
Yeah, it definitely has pros and cons, a bit of a mixed bag. And I think if Chelsea Green can run away here with another, if this reign is as good as her first, she's absolutely going to be pushed to the main title scene. She has to be. Everything she does seems to turn to gold. So, and if Julia's headed there as well, I have no issues with that. Although Julia and Jade, it doesn't really have box office written all over it, I don't think. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, mixed bag for sure. I think this episode appears to have a new landscape. Triple H kind of mentioned that this week would have a new landscape starting on Monday, but I think this episode kind of feels like it was a bit different. Even if we revert back to kind of the old things at the end, but testing the waters, maybe so to speak, with Alistair especially. So yeah, some interesting new things to kind of think about and chew on. Now we have 3 weeks to Survivor Series. We'll see what they have in store for us. But with that, this has been the SmackDown recap. If you like what we're putting out here and/or disagree with anything we have put out here, please let us know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. And until next time, this has been the Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you soon. Take care.